This is Colin Dixon from nScreen Media, and I'm at the Future of TV Advertising Global Conference in London, and I'm speaking with Matt O'Grady, who is Global Managing Director of Nielsen. Now, Matt, you gave a very interesting presentation at the conference.
Thank you.
And it was all about Netflix and the influence of television content on the success of SVOD. So why don't you give us a quick summary of what you found?
Yeah, Netflix and Amazon Prime and all the subscription video on demand services have been incredibly successful over the past 5-7 years. But what recently has come to light, and I think network executives have sort of already known this in the back of their head, is the value of the content that they are licensing may very well be more than what they're getting for it. For example, the last season or the last year of Netflix licensing Friends turned out to be 3 times what they had been paying for it. They paid $100 million for 2019 alone, when in prior years the estimate was around $30 million.
Right. So how much viewing is the television content driving on Netflix, and how much viewing is the original content? And it's a very different viewing pattern, right?
Yes, it is.
So why don't we start with the original content? What's the viewing patterns like on that, and how much is it driving?
The original content have very strong audiences, and they're building, but it takes a long time for these brands to really build. So something like The Crown is attracting a very older, more mature audience on Amazon Prime. On Netflix, Stranger Things and Orange is the New Black, they're doing very well. But they're binge events. As I showed on that slide, when the new season drops, they watch a lot really quickly. They may not get through it all. We don't know if they're watching till conclusion. We do know on linear if they watch through conclusion. But what ends up happening is the old what we call it, you shouldn't call it old, but the popular library video on demand like The Office, Grey's Anatomy, Friends, that has a steady audience. That has woken up the network and the broadcasters and the studios who make that content, because they're representing 10% of Netflix all the time.
So it's tens of millions of people who are watching the originals, but they watch in a very short space of time, and then that seems to reduce to a much lower level of viewing. For the
original programming, right. Like Stranger Things, when it first dropped in the first week, it was, the first couple of days, it was up to 50% of total Netflix viewing. It's that, that huge impact of a drop and the excitement that goes along with it. And they spent a lot of money marketing. They spent a lot of money marketing and advertising.
They sure did.
That the content's there. But as you saw in that one data slide, The Office, Grey's Anatomy, and Friends had a steady, slow, consistent 10% across the board. So, and with a new audience. And with Friends, it was a younger audience. The audience with Friends was 10 years younger, the median age now, than it was when it launched on NBC 10 years ago.
So also, that content, I think the content providers that actually own that content are beginning to realize that stuff is worth way more to them in their services. So just walk us through that.
They figured it. They said, hey, I can get into this game too. How hard is it to stream? So NBCU, Comcast has Peacock. Right. Time Warner is creating a service with AT&T. Apple has a service, HBO Max, and HBO Max actually owns Friends. Yep. So they're the ones streaming that now. Yep. I'm not sure where The Office is going, and Grey's Anatomy I think is still...
I think The Office goes back to Peacock.
So it would. Right, exactly, it would go back to Peacock because that's NBCU. So they're taking it back. They are taking a risk. They've got to ensure that they're able to promote their streaming services, but if Peacock and HBO Max do as well as Disney Plus did in the first couple days, they should be fine.
Yeah. Now, it turns out that your data seems to suggest that actually that content, though it has done extremely well on Netflix, could do actually better on their own services because there's a closer affinity for that type of content with those audiences?
Yes. The cable... A traditional cable viewer with Friends was more similar to the Friends viewer than it was the traditional Netflix viewer. So that was probably one of the big deciding factors. It's like, look, my contribution between Nick at Night, and another cable network is a more loyal Friends viewer than the traditional Netflix viewer. So look, Netflix did very, very well with this content, and I'm sure they appreciated, what they received from it. And who knows? Strange bedfellows is probably the best term to describe Hollywood, licensing deals. But the cards are in the air right now, which is exciting.
Yeah. So great data. Tell us how do you get that data?
Oh, I can't tell you all of that. But we do it, internationally. The way we do it is we have streaming meters in the household. So that we can pick up all the streaming that people are doing on devices, that are not connected to the TV.
So this is a real 360-degree view of what people are watching.
It's totally and we want the census level data. We want what the broadcaster is sending out, exactly. So that with broadcaster cooperation, we can say how much raw, when you say census, what is the wide reach of everybody that's looking at that? And then we match that to our panelist households to see what exactly are the panelist households watching on the big screen, on a TV with connected devices, and how much they're watching on their mobile device or on their phone. One thing is for sure, people are watching less and less on a PC or a Mac. The days of watching it that way is smaller. Many markets globally, it's not mobile first, it's mobile only.
Yeah.
So, these Samsung devices are inexpensive, they're big, it's a nice screen, and, they're $99 in some markets.
Yeah.
So there's many ways, and it's our responsibility. Look, everybody's speaking about measurement, but it's our responsibility as Nielsen to ensure that we capture and are all viewing so that it can be monetized, whether it's subscription or ad supported.
Yeah. Well, for us that love data, I can tell you these next few months and years are going to be fascinating to watch, aren't they?
Yeah, I've already gotten requests to update the slides by January.
Oh my goodness. Matt, well, when you do, perhaps you'll come back and talk to us and tell us a little bit more.
It'd be my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
This has been Colin Dixon with nScreenNoise.